This is the talk of Thomas Beagle at the Digital Power and Social Control public meeting that was held in Wellington, New Zealand on the 12th of May 2015.
G'day. The technocrats have got a utopian view of our data-driven future. As the NZ Data Futures Forum puts it, they plan to unlock the latent value of our data assets and position us as a world leader in the trusted and inclusive use of shared data to deliver a prosperous society. They promise it will be healthier with population-wide tracking to predict and therefore prevent diseases. They promise that government services will be cheaper and more effective through better targeting of those who need them. And they promise it will be wealthier, with business able to offer new and exciting products based on our individual needs. Indeed, is there anything that government and business can't do if they had enough data and some smart people to analyse it? Now, this is going to require a lot of data. And when you're collecting a lot of data, you've got to make sure that it's accurate. One of the important things is making sure you've got collecting the data about the right person. There's no point targeting John Andrew Smith for a medical checkup when it's John Adam Smith who's got the genetic predisposition. In a decent-sized population, this is actually harder than you think. Where I work, we recently had a case where we confused two women who had exactly the same name and were born just 2 days apart. Wouldn't it be easier if everyone in the country had a single electronic identity, one that we could use as a digital key across all these systems to ensure that we had the right person? And this is where RealME comes in. It's a joint venture between the Department of Internal Affairs and NZ Post, and in their own words, RealME lets you easily and securely prove your identity online, plus access lots of online services with a single username and password. The sales pitch is very much aimed at making it easier for the citizen consumer. Get a RealME account and access all these services that you want. Now, it's important to note before we go on, there's two sorts of RealME accounts. You can get as many unverified accounts as you like. But if you want to use the more useful services like banking and some of the government services, you're going to need to get your account verified and your photo taken at an NZ Post shop. And you're only allowed one of these verified IDs. Now, RealME is of particular appeal to the financial institutions because of their new responsibilities to identify their customers and report suspicious transactions to the government. This is a result of the Anti-Money Laundering and Countering Financing of Terrorism Act. You could just say it's another excuse to keep an eye on what we're doing with our money. Kiwibank, the BNZ and TSB Bank are all using RealME, with more expected to follow, although RealME do admit that uptake has been slower than they expected. Now, RealME itself, it's important also to note that it doesn't actually store much data about people. The data is still stored at the individual agencies and so on. But it does enable two services to share data if the person gives them permission. For example, if you apply for medical insurance, they might ask for access to your medical records so they can check it, and of course you would then happily give that to them so you could get your medical insurance. Now, there's not much more to RealME, but there doesn't have to be. It provides two vital components to make data sharing on an even larger scale: a key to identify a person and a pipeline to share the data. So it's an important building block in the creation of our glorious shared data future. But sadly, utopia is not assured. Firstly, the data sharing. While the people who developed RealME seem to have good intentions and have worked very hard around the privacy aspects, I can't help feeling they seem rather naive. It's great that data sharing for the RealME service is voluntary and done under control of the user, but does anyone really believe that's going to be how it works? If you want health insurance, you're going to be obliged to give them access to your medical records. Credit applications will demand access to your bank accounts. You could freely refuse at the price of being turned down for what you're applying for. And at some point, I can assure you that there will be a small law change allowing the IRD full access to whatever data they want through the RealME service. There are also other agencies that also have the power to override our privacy choices. The police, SIS and GCSB can all legally access the information in the systems that RealME have so kindly linked together and would never know that they've done it. Secondly, it seems that RealME is going to inevitably evolve into a de facto digital identity card, the papers, please of the internet age. As processes move online, Everyone is going to need a RealME account, and opting out will not be an option. But there is a deeper philosophical problem with having a single verified identity. Do we actually want to use the same identity for dealing with the government, banks, TradeMe, and a variety of social media sites? Will there be increasing pressure to use our official identity everywhere? I see important advantages in being able to present different faces to different people. We're different to people we work with, our parents, our children, our friends, and our various communities. And of course, RealMe's got a big future. We can't just look at what it can do now. It's going to be available whenever the government thinks up a new reason why it needs to track us and spy on us. We have to worry about what's going to happen. To think of just one example, something which has been involved with the issues I've been involved with, is that something that worries governments and businesses alike is the inability to work out who's doing what online. It seems possible to me that in 10 years' time, we'll be obliged to connect to the internet using our RealMe identity. And with everything you do online linked back, the internet truly will be the greatest surveillance machine ever built. However, it's when you add large-scale data collection and analysis that you realise how the technocratic utopian vision can all too easily become a dystopia. The same data that can be used to target assistance to those who need it can be used to penalise those who transgress. Has an algorithm decided you're feeding your children too much junk food? Did you spend time helping at the local community centre when you should have been looking for a job? Our data shows you were out in the car when you said you were sick last Tuesday. Just how sick were you? Citizen, justify yourself. Because RealMe is just one more component of the big data transformation of our society. Now, I don't think that the big data juggernaut can be stopped. Every day, the technology to watch, collate and analyse data is getting cheaper and more powerful. It's the price of the modern internet and computer-driven society. And personally, I'm still enough of a utopian that I'm not even sure that we want to stop it. But we know that people react differently when they know they're being watched. We know that people value their privacy and feel powerless when others know their secrets. Can freedom of expression survive in a surveillance state? Will dissent, so necessary in a democratic society, wither under the all-seeing eye? So while we can't stop it, there is a very clear need to control it, to make sure we get the benefits while not accidentally creating a society we don't want to live in. And I do believe that this is possible. We can't control what the foreign companies do, we can't control what the foreign governments do, but we can set limits on what our own government does, and we can pass laws that control what NZ companies do. And this isn't going to be easy. We do have the Privacy Act, but the technocrats have the ear of government, and they've already announced plans to repeal the Privacy Act and re-enact it in a form even more friendly towards data sharing. But even then, it's not just privacy that we're worried about, it's power and control. To stop this trend, to set up real protections, we're going to have to persuade our fellow Kiwis that we need them. We have the power to decide what sort of country we want to live in. We can reject the surveillance society and the subsequent crushing of our democracy, and I hope this meeting is another step on the way to doing so.